All right, we are live. What's up, guys? This is Jonathan Phillips from Jonathan's Wellness Lab. On this channel, I talk about science based strategies for improving your health, cutting through all the fads and all the false or fatty trends, and really getting to scientific principles that we can use to improve our health. I also talk a lot about mental health on this channel. I don't just teach about physical health, but also psychological and spiritual health is just as important. I want to talk about the pros and cons of hustle culture. And I think it's something that's a really big part of Western society. And let's get to it. I'm going to share my screen. I've got a small little presentation. I think this is lemon and chamomile tea. Good stuff. All right. All right. Pros and cons of hustle culture. Okay, so what is hustle culture? I think hustle culture is something that's rather unique to Western society, and I believe that it does have pros and cons. And it's when I say hustle culture, it's not like people like farmers or like labor workers, that kind of stuff. Hustle culture more so refers to people that want to become entrepreneurs, that they have these big dreams and they want to achieve. And I think because it's easier to achieve, we have access to more technology than ever before. It's easier to become a millionaire than ever before. It's easier to build a business than ever before, which is these things are incredible blessings. We're so blessed to live in America or wherever you have access to this technology. And did I share my screen? Let's see. Share screen, entire screen. All right. So hustle culture, as you can see, it's become very popular. Entrepreneurs, influencers, and social media have all made hustle culture very popular. And I know, I'm 31 years old. I'm a millennial, a late millennial. And I will say that I personally have seen the transition where, when I was a teenager and a kid, like people did not talk much about building online businesses. People were more into the become an employee, climb the corporate ladder kind of stuff, which isn't always bad. And I don't want to degrade that at all. It just depends on the individual. So bit by bit, like I was in the early days of YouTube where, these people that were building these little online businesses, affiliate blogs, and I got really into it. And I started learning that, I got into personal development by the grace of God. And I started learning that through hard work, you can become the person that you want to become. And that if you want to build a business, you want to become a millionaire, you want to make six figures, or even just, have some kind of a side hustle to make a little bit of extra money, you can do that by working hard and working smart and learning. And I think these are incredible blessings. And as they say, always be grinding. That's kind of the motto of hustle culture is always be grinding. And I think there's a little bit of truth to that, but I want to give some thoughts that I have about that mentality here. So, what are the pros of hustle culture? With hustle culture, if you have goals and dreams and you increase your productivity by hustling and hard work, then you can achieve success for yourself. Using your time efficiently, hustle culture, you know, instead of spending your time browsing social media, consuming content, watching movies, watching TV shows, instead of that and wasting your time is going towards hustling hustling on your goals and working every single day to make your dreams come true. It promotes goal setting and discipline. Hustle culture is all about setting big, hairy, audacious goals for yourself and then building up your worth ethic so that you can just every single day you're making progress towards your goals, whether it's building an online business, becoming some kind of a coach, whatever it is. Get a sip of tea. So it's about increasing your productivity and overcoming laziness. That's such a big problem. It's so much easier than ever before to be lazy. We have so many distractions. Social media, it's so, this technology is a blessing, but with YouTube and just consuming content, it's easier than ever before to waste your time. And wasting time is a dream killer. We waste time on our phones, we waste it on iPads, we waste it on computers, laptops, and we just lose so much time. And, hustle culture, one of the benefits, it's shown that you need to step up. Like if you have goals in your life and you're not achieving them, you need to hustle more. You need to step up. You need to build your worth ethic. Financial rewards, as I said, like statistically, there's more millionaires than ever before in especially the Western world. It's easier. We live in a day and age like maybe in the 1800s, early 1900s, hundreds up to the 1980s. To become a millionaire, like you had to do a lot of networking, you had to know the right people, all these things, but they didn't have laptops back then. But at this day and age, people can become millionaires from just one single device. You can lock yourself up in a room, hustle the entire day, and you can eventually become a millionaire from that if you do everything right and you work hard and you don't just work hard, you work smart and you build a good, functioning, working, ethical business. And yeah, you can build multiple streams of income. If you hustle, you can build not just one stream of income, you can build several. You can do affiliate marketing, you can do blogging, you can create a brick and mortar business. Personal growth and work are not separate. I used to think that they were. And I've had little times of my life, I'm like, should I focus more on personal development in my life or should I focus on working harder in my online business? But one thing I've realized is that you grow as a person by working harder. And by working harder on your online business, you have to learn how to contribute more. You have to learn how to give more. You have to have emotional intelligence. You need to know how to hire people. And people, good companies, the best companies are those where their employees love the company and they don't want to leave. And to get to that point, you have to develop compassion. You have to develop emotional intelligence, being understanding of people. You have to develop your social skills and just building your worth ethic. You have to become more resourceful and not giving up. Not giving up, working hard, going after what you want. That doesn't translate just to business, but it can translate to other areas of your life. And if you work hard in one area of life, how much easier is it to work harder in your health, to go to the gym, to do hard, grueling workouts, to put extra work in your relationship and really make it the best that it can be, or build confidence in yourself and face your fear and just really put yourself out there more. So these are the incredible benefits of hustle culture. The cons of hustle culture, let me get down here. Yeah, one of the cons of hustle culture is burning out. So, if you're working, and how many we all know about billionaires that they're just working like an Elon Musk, they work all day, every day. They're working all the time. And when that happens, like you eventually can burn out and eventually it can overwhelm you. And it's great to work hard like a sprinter. You sprint for, you know, a minute and then you take a rest. The same applies to life. And you need to work very, very hard in spurts and then, taper it down a little. And you can still work every day, but just taking that time to rest and recharge. Otherwise, it's really bad for the body, psychologically and mentally, even spiritually. You can burn out. It can cause, there's a lot of neglecting personal life. There's a lot of millionaires and billionaires that they neglect other areas of their life. They, because they're so focused on their goals, so focused on making more money and achieving even more success. Even after they've achieved a lot of success, they don't have much time for their friends and family and hobbies too. Like I see some of these entrepreneurs, I love martial arts, and a lot of these, get a sip of tea real quick. A lot of these entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires, many of them aren't achieving hobbies that they would probably like to do. Like if you spend 16 hours, 20 hours a day working and you don't have, I didn't, and if I didn't have any time, if I had to choose between making less money and having time for things that I'm passionate about versus making more money and not having hardly any time to spend on my hobbies like martial arts, being out in nature, then I would just rather make less money. It's not worth it to me. And lack of work life balance leads to isolation. That can happen too. Elon Musk says that sometimes he gets lonely. I mean, poor work life balance. And also, let's see. Da, 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 da. Let's see. Pressure and comparing yourself to others. This is very common. I think there's a lot of people, like a lot of guys nowadays, women too, they get so into success and achievement that it's like they get very competitive and they must always be working harder than their competitors. They have to, when their competitors are sleeping, they have to be working. They always need to be working. And when they're not working, they compare themselves to others. And let's say that a guy works out 6 days a week and there's another guy that works out 7 days a week. The guy that works out 6 days a week that has that extreme hustle culture mentality, he will feel guilty and feel bad about himself for that one day that he didn't work out. Or it could be a millionaire that feels ashamed of himself because he's making $5 million a year instead of his competitor that's making 20 million a year. So he has to have more. He has to achieve more to beat the other person. And uh, social media, social media, really, I'm kind of going backwards in the points here, but it's okay. Social media really contributes a lot to this, the unhealthy aspects. I don't want to say all of hustle culture is bad. There's really good aspects of it, but I think there's a lot of people that see social media and they see how hard other people are working. You see this all the time. People on social media saying you have to grind, you have to grind, you have to grind, less sleep, grind, don't use up your free time on hobbies, whatever. Like people just, you have to be grinding and it never ends. That's the thing. It's great to hustle and work hard for a certain period of time, rest and repeat the cycle, but it's like the saying goes, more is the mantra of the ego. And at what point are you going to get to where this is enough? Like how much money, how much validation from others, how much attention do you need on your social media and in your life? How much money do you need? When are you going to get to the point where enough, you have enough and you feel content with what you have? Which is another thing too, is hustle culture can often cause people not to be grateful for what they do have, and you can love your life, enjoy it, and also work hard in the same time with that balance. Let's go back. Yeah, social media can create unrealistic standards for success. I see in videos all the time, and I've been in the online business since I was a teenager, and so many times I've seen, just these unrealistic standards and rules that people create, such as like you have to work 16 hours a day, or you have to work 20 minutes a day, or you have to work every single waking hour of your day to become successful. So then you might develop inside that it's okay. if I spend 2 hours a day working on my online business, then I'm not going to become successful. But if I spend 16 to 20 hours every waking hour working, then I'll become successful. That's crazy. That's bullcrap. Like, there are people that build successful businesses working, on the side 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours a day, not working 16 hours, and then they still have time for their families. And yes, it might be slower than if you were to work 16 to 20 hours a day, but you can work less hours and still achieve your goals. Constant need to achieve more. So the brain releases dopamine every time that you get more money. And that's okay to an extent, but we live in a dopamine addiction society. And I believe that perhaps the addiction, we have dopamine porn, social media. I believe that all of this dopamine bombs that we get is translating over to perhaps making more money. And if you get too addicted to it, you'll never be content with what you have. And at what point is enough going to be enough? And you can give yourself permission to be confident and happy. And you might develop the need to constantly need to achieve more and more and more. So, what do we do about it? So, what's the solution? How can we take the positives of hustle culture without having all of the negatives? Balance. One of my mentors, Stephen James, and my life coach from Project Life Mastery, he uh, he recommends that you build that worth ethic muscle, and that if you're in a desperate position in your life where you really, really, really want to achieve success, then yes, absolutely work 16 hours or more a day. Absolutely sacrifice time in other areas of life, but you don't that's not sustainable over the long term. You do it in a spurt. So for 1 month to 3 months, or if you're in a very desperate position, maybe 6 months to a year, you're going to work the whole day and you're going to sacrifice time and hobbies. You don't completely neglect other areas of your life, but you dial it down a little bit in those areas. So instead of working out 6 days a week, you're working out 3 days a week, for example. So it's having that balance. And, one thing that Buddha talked about, so there's something called the middle fold path in Buddhism. And Buddha, on his search for enlightenment, let me get a sip of tea real quick. When Buddha was on his search for enlightenment, he believed that, these spiritual masters were saying that you needed to completely deprive yourself of the pleasures of the world. So he literally starved himself to death, supposedly eating 1 grain of rice per day. And he believed, based on what he was taught, that eventually he would achieve enlightenment. And they say that one day while he was meditating and he was starving and he was, you know, starving to death and meditating at a tree, he heard 2 fishermen in a boat. And he heard the fishermen, they were tightening the strings of like a sitar, a stringed musical instrument. And he heard the man say that it needs to be in the middle of the strings. If you tighten it too hard, it'll snap. If you loosen the strings too much, it won't play. So it's in the middle. So the Buddha realized that perhaps enlightenment isn't the extremes of indulging in all the pleasures of the world, and it's not depriving yourself of everything to the max. It's in the middle. And I believe the same applies to worth ethic. And I believe that you don't want to be lazy. That's how people end up homeless and where you're not working at all, versus you have people that completely neglect every area of their life because they're working so hard. I believe that somewhere in the middle, when you work very hard, not only work very hard, but you also have time for other areas of your life, and you can grow in each area of your life, your relationships, your financial life, your health and vitality. So yeah, Learn to take breaks. If you're somebody that's lazy, hustle culture is for you. You need to cultivate, you need to build your worth ethic. But once you get to the point where you're working 16 hours a day or whatever to really grow, you're just working all day. Learn to take a break after that. In fact, reward yourself for hustling by taking a break and really enjoy your life. You deserve it if you've been working. And yeah, focus on quality over quantity. With hustle culture, it's about working smarter, not harder. So focus on the quality of your work. Make it really, really good when you do work rather than focusing on just the quantity. There's people out there, like I've known people that they have two jobs and they're still a janitor and they kind of brag about it. And I mean, good for them. But if you're still working jobs that you're complaining about and you don't enjoy, well, why have you been working two full-time jobs for 20, 30, 40 years? It doesn't make any sense. So focus on working smarter, not harder. When you do work, create high quality work as opposed to just you know, a huge quantity of low value work. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Is there anything else that I want to cover? In conclusion, hustle culture has its benefits, but moderation is key. You can work very, very hard on something for a certain period of time and take a step back or dial down other areas of your life to have extra time to work. I think is perfectly healthy as long as you don't do it for like years and years and you eventually come back into balance. And by the way, 100% balance is pretty much impossible. It's like a teeter totter at the park. It's never, almost always not perfectly like this. It's always tilting a little bit more to the left or the right. Success should be redefined as long term, not just short term gains. So there's lots of people that are successful that haven't fully just worked their whole lives, like every single day, 20 hours a week. There's many rich people out there that live good lives, that have great family lives. It reminds me of Brian Tracy and Tony Robbins. These people work very, very hard on their goals, but they also make time for their family, for their friends, for their spouse, for their children, their relationships in life. Another thing, too, is I think a lot of people get into hustle culture because they have low self esteem and, you know, they have nothing in their lives. They don't have any money or any money, friends, whatever. And then they start hustling, they start getting results. And for the first time in their lives, they feel like there's somebody. Sounds great, not really a good mindset because if your self worth is defined by your worth ethic, then when you're not working, your self worth goes down. And when you work, your self worth goes up. It's perfectly healthy and okay to be proud of yourself and happy whenever you do have a win. Or if you're being too lazy, it's okay to give yourself a kick in the pants to get back on track with your goals. But separate your self worth from your worth ethic because worth ethic is just, here's another thing. I would recommend, like, don't make your whole identity, I'm a hustler, I'm a hustler, I'm a hustler. No, view the hustler as like an archetype of yourself. View it as a tool in your personal development toolbox that whenever you need that worth ethic, you can take it, you can use it, and then when you're done with it, you can put it back. So anyway, stop sharing my screen. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this little presentation and just the chat about pros and cons of hustle culture. Let me know what you think about this afterwards and leave a comment to let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next video.